Ladies and gentlemen, the wrestling calendar is filled with ups and downs, rises and falls. It would be fair to say that in the year slated to be the year of Ernest Youngman, the man himself has accomplished very little, losing both his World Heavyweight Championship and Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Championship while failing to capture his aimed tag team gold. Indeed, a lot of that was fueled with the continued rivalry with the architect Dewie Archer, who was one of the rises of the year, picking up his first Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Championship of his hated rival, before eventually picking up the victory over him in a singles match. Additionally on the rise was James Diaz, who had one of the greatest championship matches last year without actually winning the title. Tonight, those three men will face each other for the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Championship, who will come out on top, and whose career will begin again. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is the boiling point of all of professional wrestling, where feuds end and begin. But beyond all else, this is the place where it all begins again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Where It All Begins Again 2023. I think we're 18 years? I think we're 18 years into the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Project overall. Of course, that's in canon. We ourselves, as players and viewers, are only about 8 years into the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Project. But in those 8 years, in those 18 years, we have seen many, many people rise and fall, and tonight, I'm sure, will be no different. Ernest Youngman pledges to leave Mid-Atlantic Wrestling forever if he does not come away with the title tonight. Dewie Archer is claiming ultimate respect over his rival in the main event of the evening, and James Diaz is trying to prove once and for all that he is the most dominant breakout star in all of professional wrestling today. We're at the Ace Speedway. I doubt we're going to fill it out, but let's, ladies and gentlemen, get started with our Mid-Atlantic Wrestling card of the year. Of course, we are going to be having a one-on-one match. Logan Wolfsbane taking on Gary Walker, a big blood feud finale in that one. We also have a 6-man tag plan that has not been announced yet, where Team Progress, Robin DeLay, Dean Waldorf, and Marv Statler are going to be taking on George Wolf, his partner for the evening, Fro Shore, and a mystery partner. And there has been a stipulation announced in a effort that George Wolf is beginning to try and pick off Team Progress and finish them off once and for all. Whoever gets pinned tonight is going to be leaving the company forever. And so a lot of goodbyes today if certain people end up taking the loss this evening. So, yes, definitely at least one goodbye planned. And, of course, if Ernest Youngman doesn't come away with the title, he's gone forever. Big stakes on the line tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get things started. Let's get rocking and or rolling. It is where it all begins again. And we kick off the night with Earl Martin taking on the Mean Machine. And the two of them have a brutal brawl, back and forth, punch by punch. You know, Earl Martin, the fast-talking, fast-working LA lifestyle SWF reject, or alum, depending on how you want to look at it. Across the ring from him is the Mean Machine, a brutal, brawly wrestler who came to prominence a couple of years ago by winning the Hot Prospects tournament. Hasn't had the greatest of careers thus far, but in front of 4,000 people at the Ace Speedway, puts on a very, very good showing against Earl Martin, but in the end, takes the L, as Earl Martin gets the victory with his patented Tiger Thrust kick. And we move on to a better match as Jack Wood, one of the greatest crossover athletes in all of professional wrestling today, takes on the high-flying sensation, while still having great technical wrestling himself, American Elemental. Of course, Jack Wood, one of the more distant clients of MC Motormouth, calls him the most impressive crossover athlete ever, with his brutal MMA-style strikes, his brutal MMA-style submissions as he works over American Elemental here, grounds him. American Elemental thrives on a fast, quick pace, and he can't quite whip that pace up if he's on one leg and only has one arm to work with, and indeed that's what Jack Wood imposes on the colourful character tonight at Where It All Begins Again. Brutal, nasty attacks from the crossover athlete Jack Wood, and he picked up the victory with his patented Zero Choker. Big victory for Jack Wood. And ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to move into our main events. We have 4 of them. I didn't announce this before the show started, but I'm sure you were probably suspecting that we were going to have a tag team championship match tonight, and it will be Devil May Care, the team of Acid and Stuntman, taking on the Sam Keith Classic winners, Audi Goon, Terry Dale, and the other one. Yep, Terry Dale and co. And Clinton Adams. Terry Dale and Clinton Adams. And in a decent match, of course, where we have the Valhalla Boys. Devil May Care. They don't care how many broken bones, how many cuts, how many concussions they sustain, so long as that their glory is maintained. 3-time Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champions, and they take it to Audi Goon. They keep the pace fast. They do ridiculous, innovative maneuver after innovative maneuver after innovative maneuver to prove to the world that they're the best. They'll use their bodies as a weapon, and they've been doing it for years, and they've been at the top of the tag division now for 5+ years. I think. And no, it's not 5 years, like 3 or 4 years. And they have been throwing their bodies at people, using their bodies as a weapon, along with their third man, Kamikaze. And indeed, they throw themselves at Audi Goon. But Audi Goon, they've had to go through a lot of diversity in their lives. And they finally made it here as friends, as tag team partners. And they've been doing an excellent job. And one of the youngest tag teams to win the Sam Keith Classic. Only been a tag team for about a year. Won the Sam Keith Classic, have done nothing but impress in our matches here at Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. And tonight, they bring the fury, they bring the passion, they bring the aggression. Terry Dale gets worked over, he has to get isolated, but in the end, he picks up the tag to Clinton Adams, who comes in like a house on fire, brutally destroying the two members of Devil May Care. We're finally hitting them with the Dragon Rising. And Audi Goon win their first Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Championships. A huge victory for the plucky young underdogs tonight as they pick up their first Tag Team Championships. Good stuff from them. And ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for our second main event of the evening. Gary Walker is in the interview area, and he gets on the mic and he says, Logan, I suppose I should thank you, because you got me into professional wrestling in a way. I used to watch you from the announcer's booth. I used to make fun of you. And it wasn't until you put your hands on me, it wasn't until you involved me in this world that I ever thought I could be anything more than an announcer. Anything more than a joke. Anything more than an entertainer. But no, I realized when you put your hands on me that not only could I become a professional wrestler, not only could I become a fighter of great rapport, I had to. Because I saw guys like you get to the top. I saw guys like you cutting corners, bending rules, breaking alliances and relationships that had been worked on for so long. I saw you spit in the face of guys like George Wolf. And I thought to myself, no, I can't sit here and watch guys like you get ahead and run this business. And so I trained my ass off, and I scraped and I clawed and I retched, and I finally got to the place where I can stand in this ring and say, finally, I'm where I belong. And this is where I belong, and every time I step in that ring, I am reminded of why that is. It is a pleasure and it is a joy to do wrestling the right way. And I don't want to judge you too harshly. I don't want to be that guy. But quite frankly, Logan, I can be better than you ever were, because I, quite frankly, am doing things the right way. And tonight, I'm going to prove that not only what you were doing was wrong, but it's just ineffective. And tonight, I get to show the world and everyone watching in the crowds that sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys win. Gary Walker fired up. Logan Wolfsbane also in the interview area, and he says, Gary Walker, cut the bullshit. Alright, you think the good guys win. I am a former Mid-Atlantic Wrestling champion. I am the most dominant athlete in the business today. Yeah, I cut corners. Sure, I cut a few corners. Sure, I bend a few rules, and sure, I'll spit in George Wolf's face. I'll spit in my grandma's face if it gets me a World's Heavyweight Championship. Yeah, that's right, I cut corners. I don't care, because I'm the best there is. I'm the best there's ever been. I am Logan Wolfsbane. I'm the best, Gary. And tonight, yeah, it's time to prove a point. Sometimes the good guys win. Bullshit. You've always doubted me, Gary. I've always heard that little voice in the back of my head coming from an announcer's booth, judging me, saying that I'm doing things the wrong way. I'm a former champion. I've beaten everyone there is to beat. Ernest, Youngman, George Wolf, everyone you could possibly name stood at my boots and licked them. And tonight, you will join them, Gary. You will join them in the floor, groveling for my approval. And in the end, I will demand that you bask in my glory. Logan Wolfsbane fired up, and ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the match. Whose ideology will come out on top as these two head at it, and it is fist after fist. There is barely any technical wrestling in this match as the two men just Memphis-style brawl. Straight up fist to the nose, fist to the face, trying to break the other man's jaw and nose so that they can't stand back up again. And indeed, that is a very, very successful notion, as both men are covered in blood, covered in a sea of blood as they keep throwing those fists at each other, just brutalizing each other, hoping that they could keep the other man down and in pain long enough to pick up a victory. But it's not all about the victory, because tonight they are fighting with passion, they are fighting with fire, and they are fighting because they believe in who they are. And that's what both men are doing tonight. They are fighting because they believe in who they are, and every fist and every punch is an assertion of their identity. And they keep punching and fighting and brutalizing until finally Logan Wolfsbane realizes that he's got more than this. You know, Gary Walker, he's a simple man. He likes to punch. He likes to not brutalize, but he likes to, he's a charismatic brawler type. If he hasn't found a problem yet that he can't punch his way through. Logan Wolfsbane's got a bit more than that. Logan Wolfsbane is one of the most accomplished technical wrestlers in Mid-Atlantic wrestling history, and he starts working down Gary Walker, starts putting Gary Walker in painful positions, ways the body was not supposed to bend, and ever since that fateful December where Logan Wolfsbane broke Froshore's leg, he's been a little more cautious with his technical wrestling. He's been a little more reserved. But tonight is not that night. Tonight is not the night to be reserved. Tonight is not the night to be cautious. Tonight is not the night to hold things back and work a wrestling match. This is a fight. A fight for identity, a fight for ideology, and a fight to be the guy in one way or another in this little circle of influence. And indeed, Logan Wolfsbane just twists and contorts and just hurts Gary Walker. Twists and pulls and everything that you could expect from the brutal, vicious, I guess, naturally superior Logan Wolfsbane as he starts to just hurt Gary Walker. But that's when Gary Walker starts to show his true passion, his true strength, which is the fire and the never say die attitude. You don't get this far from where Gary Walker started in this business without having an ability to never give up. And you aren't going to make Gary Walker tap out. You're not going to make Gary Walker give up. You can break Gary Walker's leg and he'll hop towards you with his fists a-punching. And he shows that passion and he shows that fire. And he's not going to give up now. And he's not going to cut corners. He's not going to low blow Logan Wolfsbane. He's not going to eye rake Logan Wolfsbane to get back into this match. He's just going to punch his way back into this match because that's all he knows. And that's what he does. Just spirited punch after spirited punch, feisty little scrappy dog trying to fight his way back into the fight, and that's exactly what he does. And Logan Wolfsbane, you can see that modicum of respect growing and growing and growing as the 20 minutes go on, as he sees Gary Walker refusing to die. And eventually Logan Wolfsbane just slaps Gary in the face and says, "Why won't you die? Just die, just stay down, the pain will stop," before just kicking him in the head. And then Gary Walker just kips up immediately and just starts furiously punching Logan Wolfsbane, who is just completely caught out of his game. And in the end, despite all of the spirit and the fire that both men show, it ends not with a bang but a whimper as Logan Wolfsbane just loses that attention. You can't keep your attention up for all day. And after 20 minutes of wrestling, he just lets that attention slip, lets that focus slip. And Gary Walker rolls Logan Wolfsbane up and wins the match against one of the greatest athletes in Mid-Atlantic wrestling history on the biggest stage of them all. Gary Walker with a huge victory in his career, and Logan Wolfsbane, you can't imagine, is going to be very happy about this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our 6-man tag. Team Progress, the team of Robin DeLay, Dean Waldorf, Marv Statler versus George Wolf, Frosure, and a mystery partner, if they've been able to find one. Of course, whoever gets pinned tonight will never be allowed to appear in Mid-Atlantic Wrestling again. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. Mid-Atlantic Wrestling is the breadbasket of professional wrestling. It is one of the greatest territories on earth today. And, maybe this mystery partner has come from a different territory. But even if that's true, risking never being able to come back here is a big ask Could they find someone to take on that risk? You're damn right they could. As Fro Shore and George Wolf, they come out and say Team Progress is an ideology that has been the real stain on Mid-Atlantic wrestling over the last few years, says George Wolf. You know, MC Motormouth wants to talk about Ernest Youngman, a man with values, a man with integrity, and a man with respect. He gets stopped by Fro Shore, says, a man who used to have values, who used to have integrity, and used to have respect, bro. And George kind of, like, nods reluctantly. But the real stain on Mid-Atlantic wrestling is Team Progress. You know, I can't shrug myself of their vile ways. I should have done better as their mentor. But now it's time for me to own up to my mistake and finish what I started. And tonight is the start of that. We're going to get rid of Robin DeLay, cut off the head of the snake, and we're going to start working towards a Team Progress-free Mid-Atlantic wrestling. And our partner in that endeavor is Mr. Lucha. And Mr. Lucha comes out, and they head right in to a blockbuster 6-man tag, where the ring generals try to work over Mr. Lucha, one of the greatest wrestlers in the business today. Mr. Lucha will not be worked over. He will not be worked down. He will not be he will not be isolated. He will not be defeated easily, and indeed, there's never a dull moment in this match. It's not a traditional Southern-style tag match. It's just quick tag after quick tag. Fast-paced Californian-style brawling from Fro. Big ups from Robin DeLay, who just does power move after power move. Technical moves from both the ring generals. Dean with his more down-to-earth, gritty style, and Marv with his throws. George Wolf, of course, the big, brutal brawler. We don't see much of his technical aspect today, as he just brawls with Robin DeLay, tries to keep him down, but we do see the high-flying of Mr. Lucha with Hurricane Rana after senton, after drop kick, after big move. It's just a crazy, energetic 6-man tag, and in the end, George Wolf, seeing that Robin DeLay is like halfway down the ramp and dead, decides, you know what, I'm just going to put away Marv Statler, and he heads for the spear, and Dean Waldorf pushes Marv Statler out of the way and gets speared instead. 1, 2, 3. Dean Waldorf saves his partner's career, but Dean Waldorf is gone from Mid-Atlantic wrestling forever. We head to the interview area, where Ernest Youngman is on the mic, ready to enter, and he says, ladies and gentlemen, I've had a long career here in Mid-Atlantic wrestling, and as I sit here holding this mic, looking at Sweet Tabitha, thinking this could be the last time, I just think to myself, what a long road we've been down. You know, it was a 6-month period not too long ago where no company would hire me, where no one would take the risk, where no one would say, yeah, I want you. And there was only one company in that entire period that said, yeah, we'll take you. We'll give you a shot. And that was Mid-Atlantic wrestling. And ever since, my career has gone from strength to strength. I have to sneeze. Apparently I don't. It's gone from strength. My career has gone from strength to strength. Just because Mid-Atlantic took a risk on me. And I gotta say, it has been an honor and it has been a pleasure to put these sunglasses on, to don my leather jacket, to wear the World's Championship, the Mid-Atlantic Championship, or everything at once. It's been an honor to do that. Because I get to look at you guys, and with genuine, heartfelt honesty, I get to look at you guys and tell you that I am the wrestling machine. I am the best that there has ever been. And you know, I'm the ace that run this place. I added so many names to my legendary championship reigns. And diamonds may fade and giants may fall, but Ernest Youngman is forever, baby. And tonight, I get to ride one last time, and if I come out the other end with gold around my waist again, I can say those words to you once more. I can put a smile on my face and run this place like I always have. And if I come out the other end and there is no gold around my waist, then I can ride off into the sunset and say that I gave this company everything I had. And that this little period of my life was the greatest time I ever had. So thank you for that. Tonight might be our last ride, so let's make the most of it. But if it isn't, if this is just a chapter in my career, then I will be honored to continue to serve you people. Let's do this. He puts on the sunglasses and begins his entrance as James Diaz takes his place. MC Motormouth, despite what the comments there say, MC Motormouth is not with James tonight. He's just got his briefcase and he looks at Sweet Tabitha and he says, you know, my name is James Diaz. I've been called the Return of the Monster. I've been called the Big Money Monster. It doesn't really matter what you call me. It doesn't matter what anybody calls me or what I say. Words are cheap. That's why I bought someone to say them for me. What matters is actions. I destroyed Ernest Youngman a year ago. I destroyed 7 other men in January. I've destroyed countless men over my career. And tonight, it's going to be very easy for me to destroy 2 more and walk away champion. James Diaz with a very simple statement as he walks to the ring. And then finally, Dewie Archer, the architect, with his manager MC Motormouth, says, I've been champion for almost 3 months now, but I've been the uncrowned champion for 2 years. Quite frankly, I've never gotten the respect that I deserve in this company, but that's okay, because I'm used to it. I'm the most must-see superstar in Mid-Atlantic wrestling history. I was always the uncrowned champion, and finally, at the end of a long and hard journey, I got to travel the world and prove to everybody that I'm the best, and this title means that I'm the best. Tonight I have to defend it against 2 of the other best wrestlers in the world. And I'm gonna do it, because I am the best, and I am the guy, and I believe in myself. And tonight, I'll prove to the world that the guy who should stand at the top of the mountaintop, it ain't Ernest Youngman, with his attitude, and his ego, and his condescension. It's not James Diaz, who's some idiot who knows how to throw a punch, and maybe a suplex every now and then. It is Dewie Archer, the architect of this business, the smartest man in the industry today, the greatest technical wrestler on the planet, the guy who took everything Sam Keith had and made it better. I'm the guy. I'm the champ. And that ain't changing tonight. All 3 men fired up. Ladies and gentlemen, is our main event of where it all begins again. 2023. And it is a good match, as indeed this is going to be a slobber knocker immediately out of the gate. 1 second. Immediately out of the gate, James Diaz throws Dewie Archer with this just massive German suplex. Massive head drop German suplex. Dewie Archer is out of it. MC Motormouth is freaking out. He's not happy that one of his clients has just killed the other one. And Ernest Youngman is staring at Dewie Archer thinking he did that to me at this very second in this very match last year. And he realizes that something... It's got to change this year, because Dewie Archer is just as strong, Dewie Archer. James Diaz is just as strong, just as violent, just as aggressive, just as clinical as he was a year ago, but he might just be smarter. He might just be stronger. He might just be faster. And indeed, Ernest Youngman just rolls out the ring. He pulls the corpse of Dewie Archer out with him and just resurrects it. Just slaps Dewie Archer in the face and starts to have some words with Dewie Archer. And it's very obvious that Ernest and Dewey are Ernest is trying to form some sort of an alliance with Dewey early on to try and put James Diaz down. And Dewey kind of gets where Ernest is going, and after a couple of minutes of recovery, Dewie Archer rolls back in the ring with Ernest Youngman. The 2 try to work over James Diaz, and it starts to work for a little while, starts to work for a decent amount. They're both clubbing at him, maybe throwing some submissions on him, trying to wear down James Diaz, but at some point, maybe 5 minutes in, James Diaz just bursts out of both men, sending them flying into opposite turnbuckles, and then just drop kicks them. Like let's say that that Dewey and Ernest go into opposite turnbuckle corners, like they're in a seated position on them, and then James just hits Ernest with a drop kick, and then goes to the other turnbuckle and hits Dewey with a drop kick, just tosses Dewey over the top rope, and starts to line Ernest up for a spear. Just absolute and utter control over the match. But then Dewey from behind manages to start clubbing at James Diaz. Ernest starts to lock in every submission maneuver under the sun with a wink and a smile to the audience, working limb to limb, hold for hold. Ernest Youngman, the wrestling machine, arguably the best there's ever been, starts to work on James Diaz as the dream team start to click. We saw it during the Sam Keith Classic that both Dewie Archer and Ernest Youngman, they do have the chemistry. They do have the ability to work together. And it starts to click, and it starts to work as they work over James Diaz. They start to wear down the big money monster, but the big money monster is too brutal, and too vicious, and too aggressive, and it's just messy. because James Diaz is not being cleanly taken down. He's breaking off of every other hole, just sort of making them work for it. And eventually the action starts to spill to ringside. Chairs start flying in the face of James Diaz. They start to use equalizers to try and take down the monster. It's Godzilla-esque, just trying to bring down the giant of Dewie Archer and Ernest Youngman, just clubbing kendo sticks at James Diaz's legs as he starts to grip Dewie Archer by the throat and throw him over the announcer table towards Ernest Forsythum and Marvin Ernest. And indeed, Dewie Archer just out of it. But eventually, Ernest Youngman is able to wrestle a little bit of control out of James Diaz. And with the assistance of Dewie Archer, James Diaz gets powered bombed through the announcer's table. And finally, about 8 to 10 minutes in, it seems like James Diaz has been put down for a little bit. So Dewie Archer and Ernest Youngman, they roll into the ring and they look each other down. They stare each other down. They stare at the title at ringside and they shake hands and they hit the ropes. Brutal clotheslines, brutal drop kicks before starting to work on that flashy showmanship style technical wrestling. Going hold for hold, escape for escape, showing that anything you can do, I can do better, just trying to gain that slight advantage over the other. We've seen it so many times before. They are the epitome, the personification of flashy technical wrestling that Mid-Atlantic thrives on. And they are showing it step by step in that ring against each other. They are going hold for hold. They are going move for move, and they are just trying to get some advantage over their long-term rival. And they're not able to do it because they're both just as good as each other. And, they've both grown so much from that first match where it all begins again, like 5-6 years ago. They've grown so much and in so different directions, but they seem to have converged on what might be Ernest Youngman's last night in the company. They seem to have converged and they seem to be equals, and the respect is palpable as both men go hold for hold. Both men work each other over, start working limbs, start going for victory conditions, a proton lock reversed into a chicken wing, reversed into a proton lock, reversed into a sharpshooter, reversed into a Boston Crab, reversed into a guillotine choke, reversed into some sort of other maneuver, maybe a Frankensteiner trying to put Dewie Archer down. Ernest Youngman was able to pull out the ridiculous shit sometimes. And indeed, it is at that point that both men spot the giant roused, the giant stirring, and they look at each other and they know. And Dewie Archer sets up a table. Dewie Archer sets up a second table and starts to put James Diaz on it, but as he notices Ernest Youngman climbing the turnbuckle, James Diaz set on two tables by Dewie Archer here, and Ernest Youngman moonsaults James Diaz through both tables. And it seems that the monster might finally have been put out for good. And he rolls back into the ring. And Dewie Archer and Ernest Youngman continue their technical match. This time, it's devolved into a kind of Puro-style elbow, forearm, mixed in with a few submission moves. But every time the submission is broken, they don't try to, slickly move into another one. They just beat their opponent down until they can lock another one in. And it's not the flashy sharpshooter or chicken wing or proton lock or anything like that. It's just chokes. Just rear chokes, guillotine chokes, dragon sleepers, everything that they could possibly do just to try and knock out their opponent at this point. Both men know this is one of the biggest matches of their career, and they're trying to win that gold. They're trying to come away with the title. 20 minutes almost on the clock as both men, they're so tired, they're so worn down, that they don't notice that the monster is stirring. And he gets to his feet and he rolls into the ring, and both men look at each other exhausted, realizing that they've just tired each other out. And the monster's pretty fresh. James Diaz with the German to Ernest Youngman, with the German to Dewie Archer. Belly to belly to Ernest Youngman, belly to belly to Dewie Archer. Brainbuster to Ernest Youngman, brainbuster to Dewie Archer. The monster is stirred. The monster is infuriated, the monster is enraged, and he is brutalizing the two men who can encapsulate all that Mid-Atlantic has represented over the last 2 years is in Dewie Archer and Ernest Youngman. And the monster, the big money monster, the return of the monster, whatever you want to call him, is tearing down those walls. Clothesline, lariat, drop kick, suplex, 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 suplex. Suplex. And in the end, it's very, very clear that both men are out of it. dude, James could step on one of them and get the title. But he picks Ernest up, and Ernest nods, almost knowing that his time is up. And he slaps James Diaz in the face and just screams, "Finish me then. Put me out. Money to burn. 1, 2, 3. Ernest Youngman's MAW career is over. And James Diaz is the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Champion." Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. Check out the rest of the series. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're feeling especially generous and particularly like the episode, there's a link to my Patreon in the description. If you want to hear me ramble on Twitter, there's a link to that also in the description. Other than that, guys, I hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you guys next time for the Hot Prospects Tournament at the Proving Ground. See you guys then!